Hello again, people, and welcome back to more Spyro 2. Johnny thinks Hurricos is a boss. We'll find out now, won't we?
He's got the naming convention of most other bosses. Entering her really? It's a level, not a boss fight. All right, whatever. What? 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 And you're telling me that's not a...
had trouble with the gear grinders, but now they've set up force fields to separate us.
You're
If you find diodes,
literally
you can use them to turn
zapping
off
yourself with
force
electric...
fields.
Why can't you just move through the force field? It's literally just an electric fence-looking thing. Like, come on. You're made, at least partially, of electricity. Just walk... How can you not just walk through it?
I don't know, man.
Is it too strong of a current for you or something?
Also,
Wow, that big old guy, poof.
well, I also have I have super flames.
I know, that's another thing. You don't really have any, like,
So,
variation on enemies. It's always flame or charge.
yeah,
There's no...
that just goes with the simplicity of these games.
Yeah, I know, I don't know. It's...
Also, so I picked up a diode, right? The light bulb looking thing.
Sure.
So the electric gate is currently on, right?
Sure.
So I can't go through it because it's on.
Sure.
I put the diode in, and it turns it off.
Yes.
Don't you think it should be the other way around?
Yes.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? But that's just how the game works, I guess.
You wanted me to go easy on the game, so I'm not going to riff on it anymore.
You don't have to not riff on it. I mean, I'm riffing on it right now.
Okay then. So then what's your complaint about me riffing on it?
Because I do it out of love, while you seem to do it out of...
I want to make it clear. Again, I do not hate the game. I do not even dislike the game. I'm just riffing on it because...
Because...
If I were one of the creative heads behind the game, there are some things I would personally have done differently. I would have given Spyro the ability to double jump. I would have given him the ability to super jump. I would have given him something more than just what he has right now. I would have given him the ability to maybe like make use of his tail to like use it as like an unlock ability or something. I don't know.
I feel like though they tried to do that kind of stuff with the Dark Trilogy, and I think that's one of the reasons it didn't work, because they took a really simple premise and tried to turn it into something it's not. You know?
I actually really liked the time I had with Spyro 2 Dragons. The mechanics of it were actually really fun. Now, being attached and, you know, fucking chained down to another dragon that the AI was not great on wasn't fun. But the combat felt really cool. I was running around charging into one guy and stabbing him with my horns. I was, you know, clawing at this other dude and slapping him with my tail and stuff. I was biting people. I was zapping them with fire, electricity, poison.
Maybe that's why you don't like
death
it.
rays, vampirism, all kinds of cool stuff.
Maybe that's why you don't like the original Spyros, because your mind has been tainted with the Dark Trilogy.
No, it's just I've seen some of the capabilities of like later iterations of Spyro, and I don't know. I like all the extra cool stuff he can do beyond just spit a fireball at people and smack them with his horns.
Well, I like the simplicity.
And sometimes he can swim, and sometimes he can like kind of glide, fly around thing.
I still like the simplicity. I don't think it's bad to be simple. I think there's some beauty in simplicity, you know?
Sure.
As long as it doesn't become like Balan Wonderworld kind of simplicity, where like one button does everything and that negates your ability to jump if you have an ability that doesn't...
What?
Okay, so you know Balan Wonderland or Wonderworld or whatever?
Nope.
Really? It's been all over the... Right, I guess you don't really watch a lot of YouTube, do you?
I watch some, not a lot.
Okay, so Balan Wonderworld is a game...
Heard of that. It's a game. That's literally all I know about it. I know nothing else.
Okay.
It's just a name I heard around and people enjoy it, I guess.
No one enjoys it.
No?
No.
Why? What's the matter with it? Please enlighten me.
There's a lot.
Well?
So, the premise of the game, right?
Sure.
Is you don't even play as Balan. You play as the fucking kids or whatever. It's kind of like Knight. Yeah.
Kind of like what?
I was gonna say it's kind of like Knights, but you actually play as Knights and Knights, so that doesn't really exactly work.
Yeah, which in my... I don't remember Knights into Dreams very well, but I'm pretty sure that one, playing as Knights, is kind of like a Sonic-style sort of, like, platform adventure game, isn't it?
No, you fly around in Knights. You don't platform.
These gear grinder thieves
Okay, well...
our lightning stones. If you can replace them all and activate
isn't it still a platformer?
No, it's all flying.
I don't remember Knights all that well, so I honestly couldn't tell you.
That's fine. It's not that important.
Anyway, so what's the matter with Balan Wonderworld?
Okay, so you you play as the two kids, and
what two kids?
One of them likes to dance, and the other one, I guess, has gossip problems, or like is being gossiped about. I guess.
Okay, that I don't care.
Yeah.
Cool. Whatever. So what do they got to do?
So apparently, I guess they fucking they have issues that they need to be solved, and Balan like takes them in to his place to like work on their issues.
To what, like rehabilitate them or something?
I guess, except
okay, sure. And
there's almost no story to speak of. Like the story is, the boy likes to dance, but when people applaud him, he gets shy, I guess, and doesn't want to anymore or something.
So he's got what, stage fright, or he's really anxious or something?
I guess.
Okay. Sure.
And the girl is walking around what I think is an orphanage, and there are people who are whispering, and she's like, oh, sad, because I guess they're gossiping about her or something.
Well, I mean, okay.
So they get taken in by Balan, although you can only play as either the boy or the girl, you can't play as both.
Okay, a lot of games do that.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, kind of silly.
And I guess they gotta work out their issues.
Okay.
But they do that by going into the place.
The place?
The Balan place.
Was it like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing? Like what's the premise?
Yeah. Ish.
So a dark humor style world with a lot of colorful characters and plants.
No,
and stuff
it's not dark.
Then
it's really colorful. It's like a. I mean, it's basically made for kids.
So like a children's coloring book kind of. Okay, what's the matter with that? That actually sounds kind of nice.
The problem comes with actually playing the game.
And
so there's like over 50 costumes that each have their own ability, right?
Sure. Okay.
The problem is that they wanted everything to be extremely simplified. So there's one button that does everything. If you don't have a costume, that one button jumps.
Okay.
If you do have a costume, that one button uses the costume ability. Sometimes the costume will have like a jump, like there's a costume that like does a spin jump that lets you attack or whatever. But sometimes the ability is like turn into a box randomly that you have no control over. Just you'll be walking around and suddenly you're a box.
Even though you pressed A, or without pressing A?
Without pressing A.
Okay, so what does pressing A do by turning? Does it take you from being a box out of it or something?
I actually don't know.
Okay, that seems like a sort of.
But if you don't,
if it's useful for a level or whatever,
if you need to jump, right? Because it's a platformer.
Sure.
But if you have an ability, if you have a costume that doesn't have a jump,
you're screwed.
Yeah, like you have to basically get hit and lose your costume just to jump.
I see. Well, that's not necessarily bad, as, for instance, WarioWare was, or not WarioWare, but Wario Land was huge on those sort of quote-unquote reactionary power-ups, as it were. Like some enemies will squish you with a hammer, and then that turns you into like super bounce Wario or whatever. You get set on fire by another enemy, that gives you a firepower where you run around and beat the shit out of everything in front of you.
Yeah, but it's not exactly the same, because at least you had other buttons that could do other actions, such as jumping.
Sure.
I don't think I can explain it very well. I'll have to show you a video, like, when we're not recording. that can explain it better than I can.
I think I kind of understand what you're getting at, though. You know, for instance, it's not like jumping is assigned to one button always. Constantly, you have other buttons that do your actions and whatnot. It's all just on the same button.
Yeah.
Which... No, but, you know, I hear about it and everything. It doesn't sound particularly fun because what if I get, like, a really cool, like, I don't know, costume with, like, I don't know, a rocket attack on it or whatever, just to throw something out there. Or maybe it gives me a laser gun, whatever. But now I can shoot the laser all I want at enemies, but now I can't jump until I get hit by something. Which means if I kill all the enemies in the area, I either have to backtrack somehow to get to an area where there are enemies so I can lose the costume, or I have to find another way forward, and I'm assuming the levels aren't designed with those sorts of things in mind.
I mean, no, not really.
Well,
and there's some areas. Okay, so you can hold 3 costumes at a time, right?
Sure. Can you swap between them?
Yeah. So if you do have ability without a costume, you can switch to one. That does one if you have it on hand.
I see. So you need to always keep some sort of like Spyro or like jump sort of attack costume in hand. Which means you have the jump, and then whatever other 2 you can kind of freely change at will whenever you collect the others, right?
But if you get hit, you lose that costume. Like, not just like it's not in your inventory anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Like a Mario power-up. That makes sense.
There are some instances that require you to have certain costumes, which would require you to backtrack if you lose it.
I see. So there's certain levels that are designed around jumping and certain costumes.
Mm-hmm. And, what was the other issue? There was something. There we go.
Thank you, Spyro. I found this shiny thing mixed up with
There's more issues than that.
Please, take it as a reward.
I just have to show you the video, to be honest.
From the sounds of it, it seems like in some instances it requires you to take damage, or otherwise, you know, go back through the level to whatever previous area you were in. You know, it sounds like a really tedious sort of style of platforming game, even more so than I don't know, like a Mario Maker level.
Yeah, and it's a lot. There's a lot more to it. Like, it's a lot deeper with its problems than I'm really able to.
Talk about it?
Yeah, because I remember watching the video, but I'm not good with words, as you know.
Yeah.
So I just have trouble thinking of the things to say. So it'd be easier for me if I just showed you the video.
All right. Well. Later.
Yeah. Maybe after this episode.
Maybe. Why were we talking about Balan Wonderland again?
Because I was saying that I like simplicity in games as long as it's not overly simplistic. Because Balan Wonderland does the overly simplistic thing of one button.
Do you see that big building over
Right.
there? The gear grinders
Yeah.
are using it to steal our electricity. Please help us by shutting down the machinery inside.
Ah, right. You know, technically I shouldn't be able to break these open, but because I have the super flame, I can.
So, out of curiosity, is Balan Wonderland 2D or 3D?
It's 3D.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's probably a big part of the issue right there. Listen, don't get me wrong, you can make a decent platformer based around, I don't know, costumes or whatever that, you know, you run around and you're jumping from platform to platform, you know, swapping costumes very heavily or quickly or whatever, so you gotta use certain powers and whatnot to progress and whatnot, and backtracking, you know, annoying, but it's something you can work through. But, I don't know. It sounds like they were trying to mix too many ideas at once. It sounds like they were trying to mix, you know, really good, I guess, kind of platforming, a la Mario 64 or something, with these sort of, different, power-up things from, Kirby. Which, again, it sounds like it could work, but they executed it poorly.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly it.
Because, for instance, with even with Kirby, you still have, the basics. You can run around, you can jump, you can suck in air to, fly around, and then when you land or press B or whatever, you spit out that
Yeah, you know what?
puff that actually damages and, defeats enemies.
And Kirby's a good example of a simple game.
Yeah, and I love the shit out of Kirby.
Yeah, and
especially all the classic 2D stuff. I'm not so keen on this sort of like weird 2.5D kind of thing or 3D stuff that they've been kind of going for lately, but I am a huge fan of Kirby and the Magic Mirror. That is my all-time favorite Kirby game.
And Johnny, so where's the progression? Where's the character progression in Kirby, right?
You get a power-up sometimes.
Yeah, but like...
Yes, I understand it doesn't necessarily have progression and whatnot, and it's, every power-up always does the same thing, but part of the original fun for the game was figuring out what move does what. Like, hey, I just stepped in this enemy. What? Plasma? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm a UFO now? What? I have a sword! I've got this weird wand thing! I've got flame breath! I've got ice breath! Oh hey, I can freeze that guy and kick him into other people! That's kinda cool! I throw bombs now! I turn into a wheel and run over everything on my path! I'm literally just the embodiment of road rage. Like, I don't know, it's silly, but it's fun.
I agree, I love Kirby.
Especially some of the later editions where you can get your helpers and whatnot. Kirby the Magic Mirror, pretty much I'm sure just about everything after Kirby's original adventure. I'm not 100% certain because I don't know a lot of Kirby games, but the ones I have played have always had the ability to call in an ally that can run in and do, most of the battle for you, honestly. It was mostly when it got to the bosses, where it really sort of counted on what sort of weapon you had, but even then, technically you can beat every boss with any given weapon in the game. It's just going to change up how you do it. That's what I like about Kirby. Was, yes, they're all temporary power-ups until you get hit, all on Mario or, I don't know, Sonic, or, pick a 90s platformer. But they're all fun to use. You can at least say that much, and each of the costumes, or power-ups, abilities, whatever you want to call them, all tend to give you varying amounts of, ways to use that ability. Even from some of the earliest ones you get, like the wand, for instance, you can, do a little, whip thingy. I think it's a whip attack they call it, where you just kind of shoot a little beam in front of you, like an arc. Or you can do just weird jump attack sort of thing, where if you're dashing forward, jump, and then cast it, you shoot a bunch of magic fireball looking things down at people in front of you. You can grab people and then throw them behind you and pew that way. I don't know, it's not much, but there is enough variance that I enjoy the crap out of Kirby.
Well, alright. And I must admit, I also really like Kirby as well.
And relating that back to Spyro here, I don't know, it doesn't feel varied enough with his abilities and powers. It's incredibly simple.
Thank you, Spyro.
I guess so, yeah.
And again, that's not to say it's a bad thing, or that I necessarily dislike it, or hating on it, or
as a reward.
any of that. It's just, I wish it was a little more. That's all.
But it is charming in its own way, don't you think?
Sure. Spyro, whatever he does talk, has that sort of young, I'm gonna go conquer the world, preteen sort of mindset, which is kind of nice and somewhat refreshing to watch. The dialogue isn't always necessarily super well written, but see, that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's clever. I wanted more of that in the game. That sort of, I don't know, young adult cleverness, I guess. I wouldn't even call that young adult, just...
So, do you like Sonic, by the way? Sonic's also kind of pretty simple, don't you think?
Which ones? Because I, personally, really, 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 really enjoyed Sonic Unleashed.
I liked it, yes, I love Unleashed.
I love all the super bright, colorful creatures and everything. I love turning into that weird werehog. I know people hate on it, but I actually thought it was really neat. The stretchy arms was kind of a bit much. I figured to just give him a Spyro-style sort of charge attack. The ability to, howl at enemies or bite, and, stuff like that. But for what they did with it, I'm not going to complain too much because I really, really enjoyed it.
I agree. I also really
It was
liked
really colorful.
Yeah.
All the levels and everything looked and felt really cool to play, especially the day sequences. Oh my god, that's some of the best 3D Sonic stuff I've ever played.
Okay, so how many Sonics have you played? Have you played the original 3?
I have not played all of the original 3. I have played a good portion of, I believe you said Sonic 2.
Yes.
I have played a couple of levels of the first one. I have played a little bit of Sonic Adventure, I think it was.
1 or 2?
I don't remember.
2 had Shadow. 1
Then
had...
probably 1.
Okay.
I played some of Shadow the Hedgehog. That was kind of neat. It was dorky and, you know, that weird, like, edgy kind of style they keep trying to do, but it was fun. I liked it.
I actually... A lot of people hate on Shadow the Hedgehog, but I actually kind of like the game, too.
Oh, listen, don't get me wrong. It's got its own issues, but
definitely.
what Sonic game doesn't?
Yeah. So, okay.
I did play Sonic 06, and listen, it is not good.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. Like, I would barely rate it, like, on a scale of 0 to 100, or 1 to 100 or whatever, I'd rate it maybe a 40-something. It's playable, mostly, but it's garbage.
Yeah.
That said, it did actually... I did actually find a certain amount of enjoyment in some of the sequences of it.
Okay.
Some of the, you know, really cool, like, overhead flying stuff where you got to look down and see, like, you know, I don't know, the giant whale thing whipping around or whatever.
Yeah, that was basically taken from Sonic Adventure.
Where you go, those sequences actually were kind of fun to watch. The dialogue, even garbage, more so than your average Sonic game.
Terrible.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so...
The thing with the human and everything, ignore all of that. However, the boss fights also were incredibly tedious.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. They could have been really cool, but they just weren't.
So, going back to my question.
So, I don't know, it's a mixed bag.
You haven't really played a lot of Sonic, I guess.
The major ones that I remember playing and actually having fun with are...
but you played... Okay, Sonic Unleashed, though. Good example.
Sonic Unleashed. I really also... I enjoyed Sonic Heroes originally.
I do, yes. I love Sonic Heroes. I watched the Game Grumps play, and they were very bad at it, but I remember actually having...
A lot of that comes down to Aaron being Aaron.
Right. Like, I remember playing that game and not having nearly as many issues as he did. Like, No, that game was not...
I don't think it's necessarily he's bad at video games. I think he just does it because he feels like that's entertaining to people. And
maybe.
To some extent, it clearly
is. Yeah. I did enjoy watching it, even if it did frustrate me with how bad he was at the game. It's like, I played this game, and I didn't have nearly as many issues. Those are mine, thank you.
Oh. You want fries, too? I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'll eat the fries.
Go for it.
Okay, so...
Sorry we're just kind of sitting here, but, you know...
It's near the end of the episode anyway.
Chit-chat.
Yeah. So, based off of the Sonic you have played, it's pretty simple, too, right? Like let's say...
I mean, a lot of it's like that weird, like, skating sequence, so you kind of hit one of the bumpers to jump between the things.
Yeah.
But there are some sequences where you're running around kind of like a 3D Sonic thing, and that's actually really fun.
So, going back to the whole...
Going
back to the character progression thing, what character progression is there in Sonic? You don't really get any upgrades, really. I mean, unless you count, like, different combos for the Werehog, but I don't think I would really count that.
Those, honestly, I feel like should be kind of present from the beginning, and you just kind of figure them out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you just kind of grab that guy and smack them into each other, and that's that. Like, that's kind of your main combo thing, as it were.
So those games...
Spin attacks and stuff. Now, yes.
Those games are pretty simple, too. So what's the difference between those games and this game?
I think a lot of it is just... I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgia glasses, maybe to a certain extent it's that I felt like they had better designed levels. I don't know. I really couldn't say.
I just want to point out, I did not touch my controller. Eagle
sat on the keyboard.
She's not really sitting on the keyboard. Her leg is outstretched because she's licking her leg. She's like grooming herself. But her foot pressed a button on the keyboard that opened up this menu.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious.
I don't know. I can't definitively say why I have such a... I don't know, I guess...
Distaste?
Yeah. It's not even really distaste.
Like a strong reaction.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why I'm riffing on it so hard. It's fun to, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I can't deny that. It's fun to riff on stuff.
I mean, hell, as much as I love Sonic Heroes or Sonic Unleashed or even some of the cooler sequences from Sonic 06, all of those games, in their own right, are absolute trash.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah, that's fair.
A couple of my other favorite games from BioWare. Destiny 1, pretty decent. Destiny 2, complete shit, in my opinion. Incredibly tedious compared to the first one. Everything's completely unbalanced. There's no point to... It doesn't feel cool to use the Titan powers anymore. Let's see. Dragon Age. Origins, I love wholeheartedly. I absolutely love the entirety of Dragon Age Origins. It is by far probably one of my favorite RPGs, but it also has its own issues. The classes are really restrictive. There's not a lot of, ability to kind of mix and match a lot of different things. There are certain play styles you can kind of gear yourself towards, but they're set skill trees tied specifically to that style, and you only get enough levels to really max out one and a couple of other passive skills and stuff. It's not a lot. So, for instance, you can max out being, say, a really, really good rogue, so you can get your lockpicking really up, your stealth, your pickpocketing and stealing, and blah, 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 blah. But at the cost of not being able to deal a lot of damage as a rogue, because you don't get a lot of your extra attacks unless it's from sneak attacks, which forces you to go melee. And then you have to train into certain, skills that make your daggers and stuff better, which will complement your rogue skills, but you don't get enough points to access all of those. Plus, it wants you to specialize in two, quote-unquote, elite classes, as it were. So... at levels 7 and 14, max level's 20, by the way, you get these, quote-unquote, specialization points, where you can choose, an upgraded version of your base class to get some extra perks and stuff out of, right? So, for the warrior, you can choose to specialize as being this thing called a Templar. They're trained as mage hunters, so they're really good at... they have the first skill you train from them, you become passively able to remove mana from your enemy's mana pool. If they have it.
Hey, Johnny.
Nice. I'm sorry.
I mean this with much love.
I'm talking a lot. I know.
I don't care.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Anyway,
I just wanted to ask. Not that I even really had that much of a problem with it, because obviously you're free to have whatever opinion you want. But I am curious. So what is different about those games that you like that you can acknowledge the, problems with? And maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but it kind of seemed like you had a really strong reaction to Spyro.
And I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. It feels a little bit too hard, maybe it's trying to do a mix of a couple of too many things, maybe. It's trying to be a really, really simplistic collectathon, and that isn't as appealing to me. In Sonic, you only really need to collect one ring just to stay alive. Beyond that, it's all completely arbitrary. Sure, it increases your score, gets you some extra lives, whatever, but that's what you expect from a typical platformer. A lot of the coolness out of playing, say, Sonic Unleashed, besides the day sequences, which were some of my favorite style of, Sonic levels I've ever played. Genuinely. It's so beautiful, it's smooth, and you feel really, really cool running as fast as it makes you feel like you are. It's a good time.
So I guess we need to compare this to another collectathon instead of a quote-unquote simple game. And, we were talking about Mario 64, for example, so what...
And it has a lot of similar things, and don't get me wrong, I had my problems with Mario 64.
Sure.
For instance... this thing where a lot of these sort of platformers, the 3D platformers, really like the idea of you pressing and holding a button to let you look around with your character's head.
Yeah.
I despise that. I think that is completely ridiculous. Why? Just let me look the camera up. If you want it specifically to give me a reticle, I don't know, put it on the trigger. Make it part of... Make it feel better so when I'm using it, it doesn't feel sluggish.
Okay.
But anyway, Mario 64, for instance, to be able to access one of the levels for some of the power-ups of what you can unlock for the rest of the game levels, you have to look up at the sun.
Yeah, that's true.
In that one room.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that gives you access to the sky platform for the wing cap, right?
I guess technically that's progression, quote-unquote.
That... stupid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. I have no trouble riffing on Mario 64 at all. Because while it is a good game, and just like this is, just like Sonic is, just like Banjo-Kazooie, any other similar sort of platformer, collectible thing, Crash even, they're good games, but they've all got their issues.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that said, is it possible to have the perfect, collector or whatever? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I can't really say. I'm not a game designer. I don't know how hard it is actually to program a lot of these things and make it all look and...
Because you also have to think about, level design. Because like I was saying before, if you just give Spyro the ability to fly, what's the point of the level?
But again, I feel like, if they had the time to sit down and actually communicate with each other, like, hey, I as the team lead, I want this thing to happen. What can you guys do to help me do that? And there was that level of cooperation between team members, and there wasn't a time crunch, to just boot a game out the door just so they can say they have something, so they can keep their paychecks,
So with Spyro flying, right? You take the flying levels the levels that you do fly in Spyro, and I mean
incorporate that into the regular gameplay.
But how? So where's the challenge? The challenge with the flying levels is doing all that stuff within a time limit, right?
Yeah, and.
How would you
that
make
doesn't
it?
seem fun to me.
How would you make?
That seems like
yes,
just
but listen. How would you make a level where Spyro can just fly instead of not glide but fly? How would you make a level and make that fun? What would the challenge be? There's no platforming challenges at that point because you can just fly and do whatever,
Sure. So then, based around his ability to fly at this point, I would make it so this way, maybe because he's still young, he doesn't quite have the grasp on it, so he can only fly for limited amounts of time limited amounts at a time.
So what, it would, recharge or something?
Maybe,
But that would make it kind of arbitrary, though, because at that point you can just land on the ground, wait for it to recharge, and then fly again.
Sure, but that gives you a sense of, okay, so maybe instead of being, I don't know, a double jump, now it's a long jump, because you can jump and flap and flap and flap, and then you gotta land because now you're tuckered out. That is still a mechanic you can use to your advantage. Or if you make it so this way he progresses and unlocks the ability to fly completely, then you could design levels around blasting enemies out of the sky with fireballs and flying through hoops and whatnot. Kind of like the flight levels.
Isn't that just like...
It's not part of the regular gameplay. That's my complaint, is that there's no, I hit a platform... For instance, with the wing cap, for instance, you do your...
Triple jump?
I believe that the move is technically, according to the lore, called the triple circus flip. I believe that's what it's...
Just call it a triple jump.
Sure. Anyway, the sequence where you go, ha, woohoo, woohoo!
The triple jump.
That. You do that, and then, as long as you got the wing cap on, you'll start flying. It's kind of ridiculous, but it does what it needs to do. And because you can... I find it ridiculous you have to go right around and find the specific block that gives you the wing cap in each of the levels after you've unlocked it in the sky arena or whatever.
Whatever it's called.
I can't remember what it's called either. The Shine Palace or whatever.
I'm pretty sure when you get the 8 red coins that's in that area anyway, it's just counted as one of the castle's secret stars. I don't even think the area has a name. I think it's just inside the castle somewhere, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. It just gives you a star.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of the other levels, you collected the 8 red coins. That's the task to get that star.
Right, but
another cool thing about Mario 64, you can complete a lot of those things out of order.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
I don't like...
too, and a lot of other things, but...
I don't like the fact that they kick you out of the level each time, though. That's a problem I kind of had. I would prefer to...
I wholeheartedly agree.
Of course, they fixed that with Odyssey, but it only took...
Well, I never got a chance to play Odyssey.
Oh, man.
I hear it's a lot of the best,
really,
modern, 3D
Dude, it's really
Mario
good.
platforming. I just haven't had a chance to play it because it came out only on Switch. I don't have a Switch.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of cool games on the Switch that I would love to play, but, again...
Yeah. But anyway, I think we're, I think that's the end of the conversation, right? We didn't really have much else to say.
Oh, I could continue talking about stuff about video games I would like to see better, stuff I have...
Save it for the next episode.
Okay, bye.
See you guys next time.